got a bill out of the Senate. They got a conference there, 2 pieces. Things that you got to watch for. Firefighter requirements is a really weird. I see nods over here. People know what I'm talking about. The firefighters unions are trying to impose requirements. You have more literal firefighting power, even at small airports. It's going to cost a whole lot of money. We're not opposed to making sure you can fight fires, but we got to be realistic about it. There's attacks on antitrust immunity. We start getting all crazy about that, meaning that, you know, if I want to fly British Airways to the UK, I can't get my American Airlines miles on it because they say that's antitrust immunity. And I say, I got to get out of Road 31, because that's where I was today, and that was not a good place to be. But that's just kind of a selfish piece of it. We've got to make sure that there's enough contribution to modernizing air traffic control, and that's our kind of big thing in this. Because until you modernize air traffic control so it's all running on GPS and it's not just running on radar, the big hub airports in particular like New York that get all screwed up when the weather goes crazy are going to keep messing up your flight schedules in Texas because it's a network system. So still working on getting FAA reauthorization done. That kind of had to slide in under the radar. And we got the Water Resources Development Act that should be done this year. It's not going to get done this year. So that's all the locks and the dams and the levees, dealing not just with flood control, but with moving commodity goods, energy products. And we're very engaged on those efforts as well. In addition, my colleagues who do energy, broadband, and water are following a whole lot of other issues. We've got to make sure that for the broadband community, this national broadband plan that's out there doesn't result in more government regulation and less investment. We're really concerned about that. In clean and drinking water, we got some big issues to deal with here, and it's kind of tough because people again say, well, water's essential to life. This was actually one of the favorite arguments I saw. Water's essential to life, it should be free. Well, that's fine. If you want to go out there with your bucket and get that water and take it home and boil it, that part can be free. But if you want service to get water that's clean to your house and service to take that away and treat it, that costs money. And there are a lot of water systems in this country that are well over 50 years old, need to completely be recapitalized. Local official, you know this. Nobody really likes to raise things like water rates, but at some point you get what you pay for. And we got a lot of people now who are looking at the federal government and saying, you got to bail us out of our water mess. Pardon the water pun. There are a lot of good puns in water. Reality is we're going to have to cope with across a lot of infrastructure. If you want to recapitalize the systems you have, somebody's going to have to start paying a little bit more. In energy, as I mentioned, we got to deal with some of the NIMBY problems. You know, U.S. Chamber says every kind of energy you can get, that's what we got to be going for. But then you run into folks, especially in the environmental community, who say, I want more wind, but I don't want it where I can see it. I want more solar, but I don't want it where the sun shines. Well, we're going to have to point out those things as well. Quite literally. It is kind of funny. So there is a lot to do in infrastructure. We're going to do our best work to make the case that it's not just for the sake of infrastructure itself, but it's for the overall economy. And we're going to drill down into specific legislation at the U.S. Chamber, like the Highway and Transit Bill. But the biggest challenge to success in Washington on infrastructure is getting all of you in this room and your members who are not in this room to take the time to send an email, to make a phone call, or even better yet, to come to Washington next month and let your members know that that matters. Because you know what? There are all sorts of interest groups around Washington. And members of Congress see us all the time. It's our job. What makes a difference is when the people from home take the time out of their busy days to talk about what's important in Washington. So I appreciate you having me here today. You can return the favor by taking a little bit of time and letting your members of Congress know that infrastructure's got to be high on the agenda so you can keep planning for 2015, you can keep planning for 2012, and you can keep Longview growing and prospering as a city, as an organization. So thank you, Kelly, for having me, and Tim, and all of you. And I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to take your questions. So thank you very much.